All right, guys, welcome back to the Heights podcast. First one of 2025. Special guest, Coach Hedrick here. No,
That's right.
Coach Hedrick's always with us, but we have a special guest, Brian Shields, new incoming draft pick at Bishop Moore Catholic High School.
It's a high draft pick. It's a
High draft pick.
Yeah.
Many of you may know him, but he's a blessing to our community, works in the advancement office. Great mentor to our young men and women on our campus, and that's what we're going to be talking about today is mentorship, impactful mentorship. But first of all, 2025, off to a good start. You guys have any resolutions or commitments? Or Matt, what do you got? Anything?
No, I just said I resolved to not make any resolutions.
Nothing,
this
yeah.
year.
No.
Brian's got a bunch to share with us,
No,
so I think. When I heard.
I don't have a bunch. I don't know. My resolution, I pray in the morning. I don't often pray like right before bed. So that's
fun.
a little thing I need to start
pray in
doing.
the
So
evening.
in the
Yeah.
I pray in the evening somewhere,
Sure,
but
sure,
like right before bed, just something, working in something. So far it's going terribly, but
Oh,
I'm working on it. But I'm working on it.
love
I'm
it.
working on
I
it.
love
I'm
it.
working
Oh, that's
on it.
awesome.
Yeah,
And
it's a year-round thing. It does not have to just, if you fail on day one, it
Yeah.
goes away. I'll try again
No,
next
I
year.
fail
That's
on day
not how it
2 and
should
day
work.
3,
Right,
and I
that's
fail
okay.
on day 4.
There's
And
a lot of days left.
I
A lot
continue
of
to
getting
fail.
back
There's a lot
up.
of failing.
There's a lot of days left.
What about yourself?
Oh, well, gosh, we had a baby, Christmas, December 25th, 1 a.m. in the morning, baby was born, little Pia, little girl. So I think the resolution right now is to get more sleep. No, but really,
Yes, no.
I think, the jump from 1 to 2, I'm sure is easy for some. For us, it's been like, man, how do we balance everything with work, and like I haven't ran in like 3 weeks and trying to figure out.
I can tell.
About-
I mean, you need to. What's happening
That's
here?
right,
This
that's
is-
right. Yeah.
Well, we need to talk about that because the last time he ran
That's right.
was about 2 days before Christmas. He comes bounding by our house, I don't know, 6-minute mile. Hey, all full of energy. So the boys were home, Luke and Heath, my sons. So he ran in the house to say hi to them.
It was great to see him.
And he was giving us an update on the baby. And
Yeah, I was afraid-
It
it
was
was
gone to the doctor.
I think the due date was like the day before. So I was like, man, this has to be a quick visit.
what did
Like,
I
she
say?
might
You
go
never
into
know.
labor.
And I said, JP, you know this baby is going to be born on Christmas
He
Day.
did say that. Yeah.
You know she is. And so how do you
Yeah.
explain that?
Man, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So we went to Christmas Eve Mass at St. Charles, 4 p.m., and we dropped off the older daughter with my parents just to be like, okay, we think it might happen soon. Because she was a week late. The due date was December 18th, so it was literally a week late. So we were at Mass, and in the middle of Mass, Peyton starts having the contractions. We're like, oh my gosh,
do
do we need to
Christmas
go?
Eve
Yeah.
Mass? I know.
So I was like, Peyton, like, if we need to sneak out, that's okay. And she's
Sneak
like,
out.
no,
Yeah.
we're okay. So we went to communion, Mass finished up, and it was getting stronger, like closer together, the contractions. And then on our way out, Deacon Paul Volkerson, we were at St. Charles here, and he grabbed us. He was like, hey, I know you guys might be soon. Like, can Father give you anointing to Peyton, anointing the sick?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know people do that,
Yeah, I didn't
for women who are pregnant or things like that. So Father Robert gave her anointing of the sick, and then we went to the hospital from there, and
Wow.
then she gave birth a couple hours later.
Isn't
So
that crazy?
Yeah, that's amazing.
That really is amazing.
That is. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
The anointing is amazing. And I think sometimes the wording of that, like, she's not sick.
Yeah.
Like, but
Right.
it's you're going, if you're going through something physically, mentally,
Totally.
you can get anointed. And
sacrament
it's such
Christ
a, it's
gave
such
us.
a wonderful
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
It's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So what a beautiful blessing. So, but
And then her name. You have to tell everybody.
Pia.
Yeah, why?
So Pia
Why?
Therese, one of our favorite saints is Padre Pio. So
Mm-hmm.
many people know and love him, and he's been a special patron for Peyton and I. And so we were like, man, we want to name someone Pio, but it's not a boy. So we're like, Pio, So
Mm-hmm.
we named after Padre Pio. And one of the things about Padre Pio we've always loved is really like the way, not just he's obviously very prayerful and he's known for all these miracles and everything, but really just his like faithfulness throughout his life, even when he was challenged by his superiors, his own brothers and people's community, like they pushed on him. They, didn't believe what he was going through. Sometimes didn't believe the miracles that were happening. They thought he was kind of a fraud or
Yep.
doing it for
They did,
himself.
yep.
But it's the power of his faith of saying, you know what? God's called him to be faithful day after day after day, in his vocation. And he's this incredible saint. You go to Italy and he's on every, windowsill, Padre Pio.
Wow.
He's next to the Blessed Mother and everywhere, So Pia, neighbor,
Yeah,
Padre
love
Pio.
it.
That is great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Congrats.
Yeah. But mentorship.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the topic. 'Cause I don't
Good
know-
transition.
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Love
that's
it.
right.
Yeah.
Padre Pio is a
Speaking of
mentor.
that,
That's
yeah.
But wanted to just kind of kick this off. So great mentors in your life. I know you're both great mentors to young men and women currently. But looking back in your lives, why don't we go Matt first? Who can you think of as a
Oldest
great mentor?
first.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
I've had
Definitely.
some amazing mentors, I have to say. I mean, it's been extremely impactful for me. From high school coaches in particular, I had some really, really good ones. A man named Jim Knaus was amazing to me. His son actually ended up coaching here years ago, named Matt, named after me by his mom and dad. Mistake, but people make
Wow. It happens. It happens.
But the reason was because he was the kind of guy that believed in me from day one, and every young person has to have that in their lives. He was a coach. He was inspirational. He motivated me, but he believed in me. I got benched as a freshman on the JV team as the quarterback, and the coach put the other kid in, and he snagged me right away and put me in nose guard on defense.
Nice.
And I was a little 130 pounder.
Wow.
But he just
a little bit
believed in
different.
me,
Yeah.
and so he was a great mentor. And when I got to Bishop Moore years and years ago, Father Leo Hodges, and still to this day, is just an incredible mentor to me. He doesn't realize it,
Yeah.
probably as much as I do.
Yep.
Share what you
about
shared with the
mentorship.
guys the
Yeah.
other day. So the men's retreat. So you shared a quote from Father Leo that stayed with you.
Oh, he told me, well, when I was on an Alpha retreat at San Pedro when I was 23, started at Bishop Moore, he told me, he said, I remember him saying to me, he looked right at me, he said, "Matt, you're a good man." And then he said,
And God has a plan
has a
for you.
plan for you. I just almost forgot.
You
I
can't forget. This
stuck
is
on
your
the good
story.
man
You
part.
can't forget
I
this.
do that.
Why is he
JP
telling
knows
your
I do
story?
that a lot.
Yeah.
He said, God has a plan for your life. And he said that to me. I'll never forget it. And I didn't understand it at the time, but it was awfully intriguing coming from him. And it was something that I felt like I really needed to explore. It was impactful.
Sticks with you.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's funny, you probably heard that a million times. Like, God's got a plan for you. You know,
Yeah.
but for this one time on this retreat,
That's right.
this man you look up, this priest you look up to says it stays with you for 30 years, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So many. I mean, I could talk about 15 people, but yeah, some good ones for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brown, what about you?
I think I've had different mentors throughout the way. Sometimes I think I'm like, well, a mentor's got to be someone who sticks with you from the beginning all the way through. And for me, at least, that's not the case. I think it's different phases I've had. I've had different mentors, obviously a couple of coaches it's amazing coaches too. You could have them. It feels like a big chunk of your life, but it may be only a couple months in the impact they could have on you. Obviously, if it's high school or college and you're with one coach longer, up to 4 years, that's possible. But it could be just a small point in your life. But I had a coach and a teacher who believed in me in high school and just supported my crazy wild ideas, which again, a mistake on their part. But nonetheless, they supported me, so I went with it. College, same thing. I had again someone, a priest who was seemingly not, he would never think he was a mentor to me. And I had him for a class, and that was it. We emailed a little bit after, but that was it. And he brought me closer to my faith. College was the time I questioned stuff. And then I think I was a little bitter too, because I was a cradle Catholic. So, it was, Catholicism wasn't my choice.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
why wasn't, I'm college, why wasn't it my choice? Why do I have to go to Matt? Now I have all these burdens.
Yeah.
But he put it in a good perspective. And again, something someone may have told me before, but he said, Catholicism, he goes, that was a gift from your parents. That was a gift. And he's like, you can accept it or you can get rid of it. He goes, you get rid of it. But he goes, think about it. That was a gift, and that was a gift given by their parents, and then their parents, and all the way back, and and they thought it was so important that they gave it to you right when you got on this earth, like right away. So that I don't think was ever presented to me that way. So
interesting,
Brian, on that point, like, so we go back
did
to
I go
other
into a
mentors.
tangent?
And,
No,
no,
that's fine.
it's great.
Let's go places. We're going places.
made us
What do we
think
got?
of it.
Where we go?
But man, sometimes I think about, like you just said, like it's a gift and you just thought about generations of people that have treasured that gift to make it something you could participate in today. And we think about, like, just in our faith, like how easy it is to go to church here in the U.S. on a Sunday morning. You can pick out 12 different mass times, But like how there's places in the country. I was talking with one young girl. I forget what country she lived in, somewhere in the Middle East. But where she lived, Christianity was outlawed, and her family actually the priest would come to her house, and they would invite just a few families to come celebrate Mass. And her family was the one who guarded the Eucharist in the home. So I asked her, like, what would happen if they found out, if the authorities, and she said, we'd definitely be arrested, and maybe even worse, And but to think about that, they risk that, for their faith. And to think about, like, for the last 2,000 years, how many martyrs for the faith, like blood was spilled just so we could have this opportunity to practice our faith freely, And then I'm just going to sleep in on a Sunday morning and skip Mass.
Right,
like,
exactly.
So it's like really puts in perspective as you say that.
Puts in perspective.
Like not just in families, but just like for thousands of years, this faith of so many people that our faith is built upon. And it's just beautiful. It's incredible to think about. But anyways, go back.
No, I think I answered the question. Did I answer the question?
Did a fine job answering the question.
Well, what about just along the way? You have
mentors. Oh my gosh!
What do you got?
Yeah, as you guys were sharing, I immediately thought of my college basketball coach, Coach McKillop, and I've talked about him on here before. But just really a man of faith, but also just the way he carried himself as a coach. You could tell he cared about each man growing in character and formation, right? Like, obviously, this guy, he'll be in the College Basketball Hall of Fame someday. Coach Steph Curry, 30 years at Davidson, a great career. But really, like, the impact he had on each one of us, like, every one of us, like, on Father's Day, I texted him, like, Coach, like, thanks for being a dad in my life, a father, because he taught me so much more than just basketball. Even as something as simple as, I know I've shared this story, but we had a rough stretch at one point, one of my seasons, and Matt remembers this story, but I kept thinking, like, he called us all to a team meeting in the locker room, and I thought he was going to chew us out and break a clipboard or something. He never did that, but
we were kind of bracing. What he normally does? Is this what kind of mentors do you have? Okay, he's a great guy. No.
We were bracing for a tough film session, but he just stopped everything and he put a couple phone numbers on the board. And he said, this phone number's for a man struggling with cancer. This phone number's for a woman who's depressed. This phone number's for someone else in the community struggling. And he's pretty much, this is your job today, is to call those three people. And really put it in perspective. And he used to always say, when you're hurting, look to help somebody. And so little things like that. But Coach McKillop, for sure. And one other mentor I want to highlight is one of my brothers is a priest in Jacksonville, up in Diocese of St. Augustine. And I'll never forget when he told us he was going to seminary, which is the school to become a priest. We were just like, wait, what? Like, so he was about to start medical school at the University of Florida, had a girlfriend for like 10 years probably. Wow. And then he has this incredible experience in prayer, and he's like, I feel called to be a priest. So he drops everything and comes home and tells his family, this big Catholic family, sorry, I'm not marrying this girl. Sorry, I'm not going to be a doctor.
All of that.
Years of preparation, And that shook our family. But, like, looking back on my own personal faith journey, that changed things in my heart. Because I remember thinking, like, oh, my gosh, why would you give up all this stuff to follow God? And after that, it made me want to go deeper. So my brother, we call him JoJo, Father Joseph. So he was a good mentor. Anyways. So,
and there's mentorship just people that provide examples in your life. If you think about, there's so many people that you would consider to be mentors or just leaders in your life, but you just draw from them experiences, whether it's just a simple interaction at one point in your life, or whether it's somebody that you come across every now and then, or somebody that you follow from afar. You watch them on this campus, you watch them lead in certain ways, and you can pull from that, and it makes you realize how often people are paying attention. Even like with my talk the other day at the senior retreat, some of those kids may actually remember something I said, in spite of the fact that you said they were all asleep. And I
listen, we had them running wild beforehand, so
they were worn out,
and they weren't all asleep.
No, but what do you guys think? I mean, it was powerful mentors. You guys are powerful mentors, but I'm sure a lot of people listening do have young people in their life. They're like, man, I want to help form their heart in a positive way. I want to be a mentor to them. But what do you think some keys to that are that you've seen and that you've lived out and you've seen play out well?
Yeah, we were talking about leadership. We've talked about this before, and I've examined this quite extensively in my mind and in my opportunities to be around kids. And I just think I've heard before that you have to form trust with people in order for them to look to you as a leader, as a mentor, somebody that they're going to take guidance from. And talked about the 3 C's of trust: character, competence, and connection. And the idea
go into those a little more.
Well, if you think about it, the idea of character, somebody has to, if I'm going to trust you, if I'm going to look to you to mentor me in any way, if I have a brain in my head, I'm going to first make a determination that you're a man or a woman of character, right? And what does that mean to me? I mean, it means something to all of us, but generally speaking, am I of good character, right? And then, am I competent? I mean, I'm going to take guidance from you. I'm going to get advice from you. Well, are you competent? Do you know what you're talking about? Are you an expert in your field? Or, I'm not going to, I trust you implicitly to talk to you about spiritual things, because you're very competent in that way. And then, of course, there's a connection. That's probably the biggest piece, especially for us in a high school environment. Is there a connection with our kids? Because they have to feel those three things: character, competence, connection. And we talk to our guys about it all the time. If they want to lead and they're struggling, examine those three. And if they're missing one or two, or heaven forbid all three, that's probably where the breakdown is.
Gosh, man.
I think that's helpful.
I could be off on that. I feel like there's an overemphasis on the competence, kind of just like in modern culture. Like, can you do the job? Do you have the skills necessary? Like, obviously you need that, but especially if you're talking about impacting other people, I feel like the other two are more important per se. Like, obviously you got to be competent. You got to know your stuff. You got to have your ducks in a row. But like, can you connect with a person, and do they trust your character are you a good person who's going to care about them and take care of them?
Yeah, Brian, you can probably speak to that. I would say, my experience as a high school football coach, I've been able to realize that what I know is not nearly important. As important as they don't care what you know.
Until they know how much you care.
Phrase? They don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Something like that. So,
but your X's and O's, like
that's all good. Everybody kind of knows how to run power, but all the other things are much more important in terms of creating a connection with players and having them trust you.
Amen.
I think character is huge, and I think for me, it's a lot of reverse mentorship. I have had a couple of kids that have come through that I've coached. And they have told me, you've been a great mentor to me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm a train wreck. Like, but I think what it was along the way, having these kids for, a couple of years, they know you. And you have made mistakes. But did you admit to the mistakes? Did did they see you change course? Did they see you grow? And I think that goes with character. You don't need to be perfect to be a mentor, which is, you don't also need to be, what was the second C? Competent. Like, there's some stuff you can, but they need to know that you're genuine, you're an authentic person, you do make mistakes. How does coach rebound when he makes a mistake? Does he talk with us? Does he ignore it? What does coach do? And those, I think, I guess the more mistakes I've made, the more I don't know. I try not to make a lot of mistakes.
No, bro.
I'm just you coaching's tough and you have ups and downs. But if you're your authentic self and you're apologizing for stuff, or if you're growing with the kids, sometimes they see that. That's the character piece, and then they trust you, and then they build with you, and then they learn from that. They see how you respond to adversity and challenges. So.
But you're right, the vulnerability.
That's
like
what
how
I was
important
say,
that is for.
There's a level of humility and vulnerability that you have to have to lead people, to mentor people. They have to be able to understand that there's a side of you that can relate to exactly what they're going through. And there's a trust that's formed that way when you're able to reveal that and be authentic, like you said. So
gosh, man. And it's funny because so often we think if people are going to look up to me, I got to have this front of like, I got everything together. I'm perfect.
It's perfect.
Like,
all the answers. You got all the,
but it's
you have
the
all
opposite,
the answers.
Man. If you really want to help a young man or woman grow their heart, they need to know that you're in the journey with them. That you're fighting too. This battle that they're fighting.
I mean, you think about interactions, because my son wants to coach, and so I'm having all these college coaches come by. And
wait, for the record, you're not his mentor, are you?
Yeah,
I know.
We need him to be successful. So
that's a good point. He's never mentioned that I am. So
okay,
I don't know.
So he's got things are looking up for him. Okay, good.
Hopefully
Continue.
Some other guys.
As you were.
Who invited Brian on this podcast?
This will be my last time on the show. So thank you for having me. This is my last time. So yeah.
No, what I was going to say is, what was I going to say?
Nobody knows.
Your
I think
son,
this is the end of
what's
it.
the coach?
No.
Well, it's just about how you make people feel. It's not even what you say. It's not even what you do. How do you make people feel when you meet them, when they're in your presence? And the only way that you can make somebody feel good is by literally caring enough to just be yourself. And if you're trying to make them feel good, it's probably not going to go over very well.
Yeah.
You know, if you have an act,
Authenticity.
So I think we keep coming back to that point, but I think that's really really valuable.
And it's we've said this a couple times, but intentionality. So I think because I'm going to ask you guys as parents, because our girls are little, you guys are, older than I am.
We have all the answers.
That's right.
Yeah, we definitely do.
But I mean, as the kids grow, and I'm sure a lot of people listening probably have kids who are teenagers, young adults. At what point do you see the mistakes they might be making, you see the choices they're making, and you're like, okay, I got to let them choose here. Knowing that they might take a step that'll hurt. Or they might take the, letting them fail.
Yeah.
So have you guys experienced that as like a mentor, as a father, seeing that and kind of letting them grow, that natural process?
Yes, and I think I don't want to give specific examples because my kids go to school
Yeah.
here, so that would be a problem. But no, but to go with that, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes they want to do, go in one direction, and I want them to go in another. And you do have to sometimes let them figure it out. Plus you're also showing them not just that, hey, you're going to figure this out, you're going to be wrong, and you're going to come back to what I'm doing. But it's, they need the skills to figure stuff out.
Right.
So I mean, they end up maybe their path is right, but they need to navigate. They need those experiences. If I'm continually guiding them to the exact right, what I think is the exact right way, one, I may be leading them off course, and two, is that helping them get the skills that they need? That may have been a little bit of a tangent, but that's,
No, I know exactly what you're saying, because I think one of the things I've learned is that you have to wait. So you have to listen and you have to wait. And so we can't be so reactive. My wife, God bless her, she's the best. We
be
did
careful
a whole
here.
podcast.
Be
about
careful
it.
here. Be careful here. This is wild.
But she's reactionary.
You're gonna
She
cut
just
the
wants
mics?
to react and fix it. So she likes to fix things.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to just wait and let something play out a little bit. And it's hard as a parent. We always joked about, I think you and I have had this conversation about when the kids fall. Start going to play groups and all that stuff. And they'll fall. And you and Peyton will look at each other and be like, don't look, don't look.
Your reaction is a lot.
Because as soon as they're going to look at you to decide, am I hurt and am I getting a lot of attention for this, or did they not notice, so why waste my time and just keep playing? And I think sometimes you just kind of wait for a second and pause and see how things play out. And listening is the greatest thing you could ever do, because they're going to talk themselves right into or right out of the right decision most of the time, as long as you don't try to manipulate what that is.
So are you telling me that when your kids fall, you're not supposed to point and laugh?
Oh, you can laugh. Laugh's good.
Laugh's good. Laughing is okay. No,
laughing is good. Running to their aid.
Traumatic
instantly
experiences.
Probably not the
so
best
pointing,
idea.
laughing, taking
We'll have
video.
intervention. We'll have intervention later.
I've been wondering that. This is all coming together for me now.
Is it? Good. I'm glad. Good.
So one of the man, as you're talking about, I'm convinced that more than anything, I forget which saying it was. Somebody said that the modern person doesn't need experts, they need witnesses. They just need people who are authentically following Christ in their life. And I'm convinced that's what our young people need, is really people who don't have it all together, don't have every answer in the book, but they're just joyfully following Christ the best they can, And I think that goes a long way. We see that very much so here on our campus, that I've seen it so many times, like on our men's retreat we just did for a group of senior young men, and to hear them afterwards talking about the chaperones, as much as we want to give Brian a hard time for being a chaperone, or Matt being a hard time giving a talk, and they were all falling asleep, but just to think that these guys, they did share in these small groups, like, wow. Like Coach Forney, when he shared, our athletic director, I didn't know he had that kind of experience in his faith life. Right. Or Coach Hedrick, when he talked about his journey as a young man, I thought he was always 50-year-olds and had it all together, But it's just the authentic witness of people is inspiring, So I think a big part of mentorship is just simply staying the course ourselves and not being ashamed of I'm on this journey, jump on with me,
I don't
know.
Being who you are and being consistent. I can speak to that, I guess, for a long time. Well, it goes back to trust. People are able to say, this is somebody that we can take something from, because they've been that way and they continue to be that way. They're on this journey. so there's some consistency there, which is probably helpful as well.
Yeah, no, if you're going to be a mentor, I mean, if you're trying to be a mentor, if you're trying to, lead a group or individuals, it's very important to obviously learn from others too, but to be yourself. God gave you those. You're not one single person on this earth has the same talent, and that's for a God-given reason. So you need to be yourself. Don't try to put up a front or be someone else, or you have to be the adult in the room. I get that, but your differences that God gave you are going to help somebody else. So don't shy from those. Be yourself. Yeah. So that's all I have.
good.
That's all.
And
I
then
have.
I did.
good stuff.
That's we should have Brian on more often.
No, thank you. I'm good. Thank you. No, I'm only kidding. I'm good. Yeah. They had me on the first podcast of the year because they're like, we'll have Brian on the first one because it'll only get better throughout the year. So this will be that's.
Oh, Brian,
that's,
thanks
I
for
understand
coming,
how
man.
it goes, yeah.
Yeah, one last piece, but it's really that, like, as all three of us are dads and men, and we could have a mom come on here and share the same thing, but it's really the impact of prayer in your journey of trying to be an example to not just your sons and children, but like other people you're around and young people, but just how important that is in your life, in your journey to be a mentor of prayer.
Yeah.
I don't know, you can speak
Well,
to that.
I mean, for me, we've talked about me a lot on this show, but
We have. It seems like
not today.
Oh,
Today's
this
been all
is not
about you.
allowed?
No,
this is not allowed. This is great.
What are the? Oh my
Break it
goodness.
up, break
Okay,
it up.
all right.
So for me, it's huge. I mean, it's everything to be able to have. That's how everything starts. That's how my day starts. That's how everything has to start. Like, I don't feel like I can go do me without having that relationship, that time first. And it's and I think for me in my relationship with the kids, I've been able to, not just my kids, that was a big deal about it. Guys, make sure you say your prayers. Every night we'd say our prayers. That's just a little thing, right? As parents do that. But how formative that was, years later, to realize that really had an impact on my kids. And then with our players here, to be more intentional, I decided years ago about, guys, we're going to pray every day. We're going to pray after every workout. We're going to pray after every practice. We're going to pray, sometimes before. But we're going to pray all the time.
But sends a message.
Well, I think it does over time. And they start to realize that, wow, this is really a part of their lives, these coaches' lives, our team's lives, whatever. And then you start to get into what everybody else is going through. And Bishop Moore doesn't, I mean, that's part of who we are, right?
Yeah.
No, prayer life is, I mean, it's really second to none. I think it's you're setting an example for others. And I think young people, myself, when I was young, I thought I had to pray a certain way, I saw that person over there, they're really into prayer. I'm like, why do I don't feel that? Like, I don't feel that. So I think it helps for people to see you pray, not in a showy way, obviously, like as we know in the Bible, it needs to be authentic. You're not out there for show, but I think if your kids, people you're coaching, see you pray, and see you do it publicly, not in a showy way, but praying before games, praying after game. I know Matt prays to win because that's
right.
Pray, but. Praying before a meal in public, praying for a meal in a restaurant, and I think once the kids see that, they're like, oh, that's okay. And I think we're seeing it now I know this is a whole different in the sports world. We're seeing it more and more. It is right? There are Jesus warriors out there right now, and it's authentic. It's not showy. If you remember, I was talking to my kids yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna have my dates right. Like 15 years ago, 10 years, whatever. Tim Tebow was taking a knee in the end zone, and people are like, "What the heck is he doing? What is he doing?" And now, you have all of these NFL players, college players, NBA players, authentically being like, "No, this is who I am. I'm a follower of Jesus first." And I think it's great that other people are seeing it. And I think, I go on tangents, huh? I think it is important, if, you tell me to pray, like, are you, are you
doing it yourself?
Can I see? Not for, you're not praying to get Jesus points, as I say.
That's right.
You get Jesus points for going to mass on Sunday, but you're not, no, you don't. people need to see you pray, and then you learn. Okay, he prays differently, so
Sure.
prayer looks a little bit different. So,
Oh my gosh.
Go,
man.
please fix this.
No,
fix all of this.
We'll fact check. No,
Fix this.
But
Fact check it later.
But
We
I
don't
think
have
in the
time for that.
Gospels, how many times did Jesus break away to pray? To go up on a mountaintop
Yeah.
to pray. And he was mentoring these 12 apostles for, I guess, 3 years.
They were watching it. They were
and they
seeing
knew where
that.
he was
They
going.
yeah.
But really, I think it was beautiful because, like, the Son of God, human flesh took on a human nature, but he needed that time with the Father to be able to, like, do his mission, to go back. And I'm sure he was frustrated at times with these 12 guys that just, didn't get it,
Yeah.
So he had to be like, Lord, like, help me, God, Father. And so to think if the Son of God needed that, like how much we need that in our journey with young people and all the people in our lives and fulfill our missions, So, but thanks, guys. Yeah. Should we let Brian on again
welcome.
sometime or is that like last time or?
Yeah, Miko's stealing some signal over there. Dude, we send in our plays with
Is this
signals.
the end
I don't know
of
what that is.
the Matt show? This is the almost end of the Matt show. What's the So
Well,
this
guys, hey, Happy New Year, man. I guess it's not Happy New Year anymore. It's January 17th.
Yeah,
but
it's still a new year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
No, this
guys.
is great.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on your show. Leave some comments too. Matt
That's
will
right.
be going through that and get to.
You can teach
get
us
to the
about the
comments.
social media aspect of all this.
That's right.
JP and I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's how it shows. It
Yeah.
shows. No, I'm only kidding. No, this is great. This is great. You have this podcast,
Oh,
this
Brian.
platform to, bring people on and just talk about kind of faith-centered
Amen.
topics.
Amen.
So,
Yeah, Brian, thanks for coming on.
And thank you to Sarah and Miko.
And Miko.
right?
They always do the editing.
best.
Well, no edits here. What are you talking
Well,
about?
no edits, but we do.
This time we
Brian's
might
on
need
the
to.
show.
There's going to be a lot of edits
Okay.
to this. Yeah.
Well, guys,
I
thanks
get
for
it.
joining. God bless you. We're praying for you and have a beautiful new year. All right? Take care.
Thank you.